Good morning, students. Now let's start lesson number 4 in economics. Now you have your third unit test to be appeared in this month, September. So you have all these portions. So please let us do all these portions for your third unit test. Okay. So we have completed till 3 lesson demand, and you start writing the assignment of that lesson demand. Okay, wherever possible draw all the diagrams in the demand chapter, all that demands for change in demand, extension and contraction of demand, then elasticities of demand, then law of demand. So all the diagrams are very important in that chapter. In the same way, if you have gone through that lesson nicely with all the diagram, you will understand this lesson number 4 very easily. Okay, 4 is talking about supply. Now in demand is that the consumers, on the consumer side we have seen what was the consumer's behavior when the price changes, what happens to the demand. Okay, now this supply is on the producer's side. Just as we customer always wait for the price to fall, isn't it? In the demand we have seen that when the price falls, demand increases. So the people are waiting for the price to fall. So there are so many reasons to change in the, there is a change in the demand. So many factors we have seen, many factors are affecting the demand. So all that factors are changing. Because of that factors, the demand is changing. So that demand is changed by the consumers, by the customers. We people, we are always having so many factors, and those factors are affecting our demand. The same way suppliers are also having so many factors. They are also waiting for that factors to affect. So if that factors affect, the supply will also affect. So supply is from the supplier's side, that means from the manufacturers or from the producer's side. Okay, so that is the difference between the third chapter and the fourth chapter. Third chapter is for the consumer, so consumers demand, and producers. Fourth chapter is on the producer's side, manufacturer's side, okay, traders side or suppliers side. So they are the one who is going to supply. The manufacturers, they are going to supply. The traders, they are going to supply. The producers, they are going to supply. So only when these people supply, it comes to the market. Okay, and this supply is done as per the demand. If demand is not there, supply will not take place. So demand and supply is just like a scissor, the two sides of the scissors. Okay, it cuts together. If does not work together, these two things has to work in the market. Demand and supply both has to work in the market. Only if there is demand from the consumer side, there will be supply also which will be taking place. So here you are going to understand in this lesson what is the meaning of supply, then what is production, what is supply, what is stock. You have to understand what is the difference between stock and supply, then what are the factors affecting supply. So you have some factors here. Then what is individual supply and market supply. There also you have studied individual demand and market demand. Here you have to study individual supply and market supply. Then supply function, demand function you have studied. The same way you have supply function. Then law of supply, there you have studied law of demand. So what is happening in the law of demand? For the law of demand, what you required assumptions are required, diagrams are required, schedule, that table is required. Okay, what is the relationship between the price and the supply? What is the relation between the price and demand? You have studied. There is a direct relation. Okay, what is the relationship here between the price and the supply? And change in supply, expansion and contraction of supply, and increase and decrease in supply. That also you have seen, expansion and contraction of demand. The same way here also change in, and exceptions to the law of supply. There also you have seen the exceptions. Certain exceptions are there taken place in the law of demand. The same way exceptions to the law of supply. So these exceptions. Then price determination in the market, how the prices are decided in the market. Okay, so these are what you are going to see in this fourth chapter, supply, from your textbook. So purely you look into your textbook, and let's see how this supply is working. Demand and supply both are equally important in the determinant of price. Okay, when it comes to price, demand is also important, supply is also important, because the demand, people are waiting for the price, suppliers are also waiting for the price, because people are waiting for the price to fall, so they will demand more, and suppliers are waiting for the price to rise so that they can supply more, so they get more profit. Okay, so both the sides, both of them, the demand and the supply, both are the determinant of price. So in order to fully understand the concept of demand, it is necessary to understand the concept of supply. So first you have to understand, you understood what is demand, so now just as we understood what is demand, in the same way we have to understand what is supply. Okay, so demand means, what was the meaning, what is the meaning of the demand? They said demand had many things to fulfill, isn't it? The same way there are certain things to be fulfilled for the supply also. So considering the demand for various goods in the market, it becomes a function of the market to ensure the supply of these goods. Supply must be altered in accordance to the change in the demand. Just as there is a different demand at every price, there also is a corresponding supply to every price. When prices are changing, when the price is 5 rupees, you know what is the demand. When the price is increased to 10 rupees, then you know what is the demand. If the price is increasing to 15 rupees, then you know what is the demand. Okay, in the same way, so when prices are rising from 5 rupees, 10 rupees, 15 rupees, demand is falling, people's demand for that good is falling. In the same way, for supply also, suppose when the price is 10 rupees, okay, the supply was 15. Now when the price increased to 15 rupees, when the price increased to 20 rupees, suppliers are very happy, because they want price to rise, then only they will get more profit. So they are very happy when the prices are rising. Okay, when the price becomes, it becomes to 15 rupees, suppliers are very happy. But when the price becomes from 10 rupees to 15 rupees, demand becomes less, customers are sad, because the price is rising. So for the customer, when the price rise, they feel very sad because prices are rising. But suppliers are very happy when the prices are rising, because they always want price to be high so that they get more profit. Okay, so now what is meaning of stock and supply? Now in every day the distinction language between supply and stock is not drawn. However, in economics there is a clear distinction between the stock and supply. Now stock means what? Whatever is left, or whatever you produce, always you produce in large quantity. We never produce everything in small quantity. Okay, everything is being always produced in large quantity, so that becomes a stock. Stock is always should be there for the producer, for the seller, always the stock should be there. Supply will be little, supply will not, the entire stock will not be supplied on the same day. Okay, the entire stock will be there, but entire stock will not be supplied every day. So stock and supply have two different meaning. Stock is on a large quantity, it always will be there, and supply will be according to the change in the price in the market. Understand, if the price in the market is 10 rupees, then that much stock will come out and that much will be sold in the market. They will not sell the entire stock in the market with 10 rupees price, because they know the price of 10 rupees is going to increase after 1 month, or after 2 months, or after 6 months. That price is going to increase, it is going to become 20 rupees. So at that time they will release that stock. Understand, so stock is always more than the supply is always less than the stock. So this is what you have to learn here. See, what is production? Production is the total quantity of goods that is created by the available factors of production during a fixed period of time. Whatever you have at that time, you use all that raw materials, all that material, you use it and you produce it. Okay, so that production will take with available all that factors for the fixed period of time. So that is called production. Supply is what? It is that amount of production which a producer one price and at a particular point of time. See, supply is talking about what? Supply. Production is created every day with the available factors of production. That means production is a continuous process. Production will never stop. Production is going to take place, and this production will be kept in the stock, and supply from the part of this production, supply will take place in the market with that price in the market. If that price is able and the seller is willing to sell in the market, then he may sell certain of his production in the market today with that existing price in the market. That is called supply. Stock is the total available of all the amount of goods with the producer which can be offered for sale in the market as per the ability and the willingness of the seller. Stock is, he will always have the stock. He is not going to sell out everything. As per the willingness, as per his ability, or as per the willingness or seeing the price in the market, he will bring out that stock. For example, a trader of Rajkot has 500 packet of oil. He is not able and willing to sell in the market at a given price at a given time, then the supply becomes zero. Everything will remain in the stock. But if he is able and willing to sell 300 packet out of 500, then available with that price in the market, that means supply is going to be 300, the remaining 200 will be stock still. Understand? So everything he will not release with that price, because he know that the price is not suitable, the price may change later. So for that he will always keep that stock. Okay, so before understanding the meaning of this supply, we have to know what is, to clarify, we must know what is the meaning of the meaning of supply. So with this meaning of supply, same thing as what is demand. First you must have the willingness to sell. Okay, producer must have the willingness to sell, producer must have the ability to sell, producer must have the willingness to sell and willingness to sell. 2 times they have given. The entire amount of the goods available with the producer or a trader is not called supply. If a stock which becomes this thing, he must have a willingness to sell at a given price. Suppose in the price, as they said, 500 packet of oil is there in Rajkot has got 500 packet of oil, but he is willing to sell only 300 at that price. He is not going to sell for entire 500. 200 is going to keep it as a stock, because he know that the price is going to change later. So now he is willing to sell only 300 with this price, and 200 he will keep it as a stock. So whatever willingness he has to, that much will be the supply, the remaining will be the stock. Okay, ability to sell, and ability to sell depends upon the ability of the stock. For example, if he has 500 desire to sell 1000 packets of oil when he has an available of 500 packets, then the ability to sell is only 500 packets, thus the supply is 500. Sometimes he has the ability to sell more, but he does not have the stock. So he has the ability to supply 1000 units, but he has only stock 500. So the producer always keep more stock, because he doesn't know when the prices are going to change. So he wants to sell more packets, but he has only 500 packets here to sell. So the producer must have that ability to sell. Willingness to sell, again it is same. With the given price, he must have the willingness to sell. If he is not willing to sell at that price, he will not sell, he will keep it as a stock. So the same way as for the demand also, the same thing, he must have the ability, willingness to pay and readiness to pay, and he is also waiting for that price and time. The same way supply is also willingness to the suppliers, ability to the suppliers, and they are also waiting for good price at particular time. That is called supply. So I'll come back with the next video in my next lecture.